Hi everybody, Sahil Roy here from C++BetterExplained.com, and in this video today I wanted to do something a little bit different for you guys because throughout my YouTube channel I've been giving you guys a lot of value in regards to concept tutorials, project breakdowns, game development breakdowns where we break down and analyze the code of how everything's been put together. But I don't think I've really told you guys how this all happened, the birth of the C++ Better Explained website and book and course and everything. So I wanted to get real with you guys today and tell you the story about C++ Better Explained.com and why I started it back in 2015. So let's go back to 2009, where I was around about 15 years old. And I was firstly introduced to the Visual Basic programming language in I think it was in Class 8 or Class 9 back in 2008 and 2009. So I was introduced to programming for the first time, and at the time we were learning Visual Basic at the time. Well, I wouldn't say learning, we were just pretty much copying and pasting it from the book that we were trying to learn, and we obviously had no idea what was going on or anything like that, or what any of this stuff meant back then. The concepts of variables and strings and all that didn't make any sense to me back when I was 14 or 15. So after I got introduced to the Visual Basic programming language, being 15 at the time, you start to think about what you want to do after you leave school and all that. And I originally wanted to be a doctor, as most Indian kids wanted to be a doctor when they're 14 or 15. But I hated chemistry and biology and science and all that. Around that time in school. So and I still pretty much do to this day. I was never good at chemistry or biology. So being a doctor was just out of the question. It just wasn't gonna happen. So, and then I around about that time, when I was around about 14 or 15, I had the idea of eventually thinking about being a video game developer, because back then video games were actually fun back then and all that. It was actually focused on single player campaigns back then. It was really focused on during that era of the 2000s to the 2010 era and all that. Video games were actually really good back then. So I thought about being a video game developer around about that age, 14, 15. I was really thinking about it. So when I started learning about what languages they use in the video game development industry, they obviously use the C++ programming language. So I discovered that when I was 15 years old. So I was thinking, okay, I've got to start learning C++. So I obviously tried to learn from all the online resources and tutorials that were out online, and it didn't make any sense at all. I had no idea what was happening. So I tried to learn from those resources, and then I'm like, okay, maybe I need to go and buy a book. So what I got for my 15th birthday was that I got a book. I got this massive C++ textbook that was the Ivor Horton's Introduction to C++ 2008 edition, and I still have it on my shelf. I can maybe show it to you guys. You know what? I'll get it for you guys. So hang on. Let me go and get it for you. Yep. So this is the book. This is the book that I first got when I first started learning C++ back in 2009, and it is I think it's around about 1,353 pages. So when I was 15 years old, I was trying to dissect what the hell was going on in this book. So when I was 15 years old, I was trying to dissect what the hell was happening in this textbook, and I was trying to understand what variables are, what strings are, what arrays are, and it took me literally months and months and months to understand, what variables were, what strings are, what arrays are, I hadn't even touched classes as yet, and it was just taking me months. I was just, pretty much what I was doing was that I was just, opening the textbook and just typing in the examples from this textbook that I had, because it was just so complex to understand, and me being being 15 at the time, it was very hard to dissect and understand. So what I can tell you guys is that I'm not some programming prodigy at all. I've learned this from I've learned this stuff from the ground up, which is something that you can relate to me, like when you're watching these video tutorials and when I'm explaining like these code breakdowns and everything, because I've been through there, trying to learn this stuff from the very basics and none of it making sense. But going back to this era where I was trying to learn from these textbooks and all that, and stuff taken for me ages to understand and all that, I eventually started to understand these concepts and all that, and then I started being able to understand later, like these advanced concepts, such as classes and polymorphism and inheritance. And then it took me a very long time to understand pointers. Sometimes I still have to go back to the very basics, as well, when I'm trying to debug a problem using pointers and all that. I always have to go back to to the very basics, from like what I learned at the start, from age 15, from age 15 and all that, if that makes sense. But during that time, from ages 15 to 16, when I was trying to learn the C++ programming language, it was very, very tough at the start, and but I eventually got the hang of it. So during that time in high school, when I was trying to learn C++, I eventually got the basic concepts understood and all that, but I took a bit of a break during that time, because I was focusing on finishing my BCE. So I was really focusing on doing well, trying to do as well as I can in my high school exam. So I wasn't too focused in learning C++ during the years of 2012 and early 2013. But now that we're going into my university years, the first couple of years, so going back into the year of early 2013, 2014 now that I'm in first year engineering, second year engineering and all that, now that we're introduced into learning C++, and now they're throwing these advanced concepts at us. They're throwing these basic concepts at us for us to understand and learn and to be able to apply. So what I could see with my classmates and everything who were enrolled in these C++ courses was that what I was going through when I was in the 9th and 10th grade and all that, I could see my students in second year uni struggling to understand these basic concepts of variables and arrays and strings and classes and all that, and these advanced concepts like polymorphism and inheritance and templates and all that. They were struggling to understand that. And what we later found out was that these C++ courses that people take at my university, at RMIT University, it has over a 50% failure rate. So if there is about 100 students enrolling in these courses, 50% of people are going to fail this class, guaranteed, because the lecturers are not able to teach these C++ concepts in a way that makes sense and that's understandable for complete beginners. You see that throughout the C++ class, with the students having a 50% failure rate in this class and all that. When I got to the end of 2014, what ended up happening to me at the end of 2014 was that I ended up losing my student engineering job. So I was feeling a bit down, about losing my student engineering job, back then. But as they say, when you hit a low, when you hit a low, you end up going through a high. So what ended up happening, towards the end of 2014 was that, I decided at the end of 2014 was that I wanted to create like a book that I wish existed. When I first started learning C++ back in 2009, when I was 15 years old. So when 2014 ended, I remember when I first started writing the first edition of C++ Better Explained. I first started writing that book on January 1st, 2015. On New Year's Day. Straight after the New Year's Eve celebrations had finished. I woke up. I was very hungover, but I was just like, you know what? I'm gonna write 6 days a week. I'm gonna write a chapter a day of this book, C++ Better Explained. I'm gonna write 6 days a week, and I'm gonna get this done. I want to get this out onto the market as soon as I can. So during that month of January 2015, I was writing 6 days a week, and I finished writing the manuscript of that book just before February had hit. February 2015 had hit. And I can show you the photo of the first edition that I have. If you see this photo that I'm showing you guys right here, this is me at like age 21 of the first edition of the book and all that. In 2015, just before my 21st birthday, and I had no audience, I had no fanfare, no hype built ready for this book. I just published it out on this new website that I had. I published it on Amazon, and I was already getting sales on Amazon and all that, which was amazing to see and all that, because because I knew that the market wanted this book. I knew that this was the book that I wanted to have. When I first started learning C++ back in 2009 and all that. And when I launched the book, obviously on Amazon and on my website, I wrote a lot of free content on my website. I wrote consistently for around about 18 months, and all that, giving away a lot of free content. That's what I did for the first 18 months. Just free, a lot of free content, a lot of free value and all that. And the sales started coming in organically and all that. And I started producing the first edition of my course as well. Which wasn't, there was a lot of improvements to be made, which I've made throughout the years to the course now. But obviously, you put something together the first time to see what the market responds to. The market did like it, but I felt there was a lot of improvements to be made to the course, which I've now provided in this day and age of 2024 and all that. I've consistently been refining it and updating it, with my new insights and my new concepts as well. To the online course and everything, but the sales started taking off. I've built up like an email list and an audience and all that. I've built up this YouTube channel now. Since I've been a bit more consistent with YouTube since last year and all that. And what I can say is that I just want to thank you guys for watching me and for purchasing my book and my online course, because without you guys kept me going, throughout the last 9 years. Because if there weren't any subscribers, if there weren't any sales and all that, then I would have stopped, ages ago. But you guys have kept me going, with your support and your positive reviews and your emails to me and my testimonials and all that, which you can see on my website and all that, because you guys supported me, you guys purchased from me, and that's what kept me going, throughout these years. So once again, thank you so much. And I just wanted to tell you guys the story of the C++ Better Explained website and all that. So thank you again for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video. Still struggling learning how to program, but he can't seem to get the fundamentals? Well, it's time to finally change that forever, because if you really want to get guided by me, I can show you how to learn the fundamentals of the C++ programming language. And if you want to get started today, click on the link below to book a free 30-minute call with me, and I'll be able to have a phone call with you and go through the issues that you're having and the problems that you're trying to solve, and I'll be able to help you on the phone call and guide you on the best way to get started on learning the C++ programming language. And if you aren't still unsure, I still advise you to click on the link below and book that call today, because I'll be able to pinpoint your issues and guide you in the right direction of where you want to go in terms of learning the C++ programming language.